My dad shared video games with me when I was about 3, 4 years old. He played Nintendo devices. We had a Game Boy, we eventually had a Super Nintendo and 64, and continued on from there. My father is the very reason why I have such a huge affinity for Nintendo and their consoles. He himself, in his 60s, as a grandfather now, still plays a Nintendo Switch. He and I share some of the same experiences. He was going through Super Mario Wonder and is playing Mario Kart. And my daughter, she's doing the same. I'm getting to share with her the very same experiences my father shared with me in a different way with the Nintendo Switch. It's a very, very exciting thing. And since they just came here to visit to see my son turn 1, which happened today, they got to see my daughter play Super Mario Wonder. In fact, she was so excited to show her grandpa how she could get through the levels. Now today we're grinding on a 5 on the machine, which still means it is 13 right here. I'm gonna continue on making an AeroPress 15 grams in, 250 grams of water out. Today, drinking Verve coffee, I want to continue with this story. My daughter, very excited to show her grandpa how she plays Super Mario Wonder, was just so elated by the experience. My father being like, wow, she's actually really good at this. This is crazy, was also the same. Because, see, he doesn't play as much as I do. He is not as into video games as I am now, but he and my daughter are playing the same game, which is so special because me and my father played Super Mario Land 2 on the Game Boy together, which was a very special experience. Now, something that I've been talking about a lot recently is my Nintendo Switch experience, my Nintendo experience. Now, I started my story off that way because I wanted to reiterate that gaming for me started very young. It started at the same age as my daughter, and as I've been watching her and sharing this experience with her, it really has me thinking of my gaming history. My buddy and I both have 2 children. We both bring our 2 children to the same coffee shop every Friday. His eldest is only 3 months younger than my oldest, and his youngest is 3 months older than my youngest. They all play together, and there's a huge courtyard where they do different things. Riding a scooter, riding a balance bike, running around, playing with toys, and every which way. Something that I noticed is every time I leave my house, I ask my daughter the same question. What toys do you want to bring with you to play with your friend? What scooter or bike do you want to bring with you to play with your friend? And every time I tell my daughter this or ask my daughter this, she starts to collect things. Everything she can pick up, whether it's 15 stuffed animals, a random ball, a scooter, a bike, another toy that she never ever uses. All of a sudden, because given the opportunity to bring every single toy, because I give her an open-ended question, she now wants to bring every toy to play with. She wants to have all of her options available to her. She wants to experience everything that she has. At least she thinks she wants to do that. It's something that when we inevitably get to the coffee shop, if I was to allow her to do exactly that, she would show up with 15 stuffed animals, a random ball, a scooter, a bike, 2 helmets, another toy ball basketball thing that is probably our neighbor's, and of course, a Nintendo Switch. All of these things. If I was to bring them all with me, I would bring them all in our wagon and then get there. And then she would proceed to find a stick in the mud, and for the rest of the time there, play with the stick in the mud. And just as all of those things came with us, the stick in the mud would be the thing that comes home with us. That toy would be used forever and a day. And then if I was to throw it away overnight, she would completely forget about it. This idea of options, these ideas of options are something that really resonated with me as I observe my child. The very child who's having fun playing one game she's been given on one device she's been allowed to use for one moment in time each day, and she gets to do that. Now, in that game, she has all the different levels she can play. There are choices there, but my daughter isn't given gaming options. She does have access to watching stuff on Disney Plus, as we still have it. And when that happens, again, for minutes, she's scrolling through saying no, 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 no. And I can see my almost 4-year-old daughter being cursed with choices. As I observe this, I can't help but extract some 4 with the smoke, which I can't do the smoke because the smoke is still chipped. I have a new one coming in. 1. Okay, here we go. Amber. I see my daughter going through this weird choice thing, and I think, how can I as a father, 1, make it easier on my daughter and give her the power to choose, but also how can I learn from my daughter's experience? Because as parents, it's good to be able to teach, but it's more important to be able to learn. And so I look at that and I go, how can I learn? Well, I extracted this situation and I applied it to my own, a situation that I am always involved in, especially with work with you guys, as well as at home with my hobby, and I applied it to video games. I'm sure you can see where I'm going with this, which is totally fine. Stick around to see how it ends up. But I thought to myself, just as I witnessed my daughter having these moments where she wants this, and she's looking at it, and she's like, look at all of my toys to play with. And she ends up playing with none of them. Now, I do not allow my daughter to bring all of these toys to the coffee shop because that is ridiculous. I'm not going to allow her to bring Buzz Lightyear, the whole Bluey cast, also every stuffed animal that has anything to do with Disney, or not Disney, Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, and then a random wooden ball and 2 helmets to the coffee shop. No, I am instead going to say, hey, we're going to the coffee shop. Do you want to bring your scooter? She goes, yeah, okay. And then what do? We proceed to get to the coffee shop. She has simply her scooter. I do bring her Nintendo Switch with me just for car rides. And that's it. You know what she ends up doing? She ends up either using her scooter or using her friend's scooter. And that is it. But what do they do the whole time? They ride their scooters. I look at that situation and I go, how can I apply that to my life? Because the simplicity, the charm, and the wonder that exists in the games they create with just that one toy is spectacular. It's a wonderful example of being content. I look at my video game space and I have everything. I have, or had, an Xbox. I have a PC, a gaming laptop. I have a Nintendo Switch, as well as a Steam Deck and a PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Portal, or PlayStation Portal, rather. I also have an emulation device, and we just can keep going from there, from retro machines, this, that, and the other. When I pack my backpack, I pack a Steam Deck, a Nintendo Switch, a Game Boy Advance SP, and I was packing the RG35XX Plus for a while, but decided to stop because of convenience. I thought to myself, what happens? Do I use any of these? And the answer to you, when I'm given a moment to myself, I sit rifling through my backpack, trying to figure out which one of these consoles am I going to play. And then I end up just reading manga. I don't even touch the very consoles I brought with me, because there are too many options. Not only are there too many options, but in the options comes even more, because I have to then choose a game, which can seem nuanced at the thought of it, but with the physical versus digital thing, when you have a full digital library like on something like the Steam Deck, which is all you have access to, which is great, you end up sitting down and going, well, now I have decided the device, but I have 15 games to choose from. I've started all of them, and I don't know which one to continue on. Do I want to spend more time developing my skills in a fighting game like Kakarot, or do I want to maybe take it a little bit easier in Ori, Will of the Wisps? Do I want to maybe get through more of the Sandland game, which runs beautifully, or am I to explore some of the capabilities of this machine and play Horizon Zero Dawn? All of these questions You ask yourself, and before you know it, all of a sudden, 30 minutes later, you're sitting there, you've played nothing, your time to yourself is over, and frustration is what you're left with. I thought, this isn't it. This isn't it. I can't do it. And I look back and looking at my daughter's experience because I'm seeing myself through her, which is so spectacular. Gosh, that Honduras is just so good. That tastes exactly the same as the grind. Okay, cool. So yes, 13 on here. I look at her experience and I see how much wonder there is there. And I'm not just saying that because she's playing Super Mario Wonder, although it is appropriate. I'm saying that because the smile and the bliss and all that stuff is great. But I look at her experience and I think back to me as a kid, and we didn't have money growing up. Not a lot of it. We had enough to survive, and my parents did such a beautiful job at making my world magical and exciting and making sure that I felt loved and cared for, as well as providing things that were over the top exciting, right? But I grew up and we had 2 video game consoles in our house, and that's it. We had a handheld, which often I shared, and we had a dedicated gaming console, such as a Super Nintendo or a Nintendo 64. My handheld gaming was my obsession, right? I loved handheld gaming, and to date, I still do. And if I'm being honest with you, I think, well, let me finish what I'm talking about. And the reason why I liked handheld gaming is because it was mine. It was personal. I could have that moment to myself. I could sit on the couch while my dad was doing something. I could go into my room and enjoy a little fort and play there and play my Game Boy, or I could do my own thing. And this traveled with me as I got older. I had my Game Boy with me. I could go to a coffee shop and sit and play my Game Boy or my 3DS or my DS at the time. I could be on break at work and have that experience. You see, I've always enjoyed playing video games, and the portability aspect allows me to keep the games with me, but then something happened around the PlayStation 2 and 3 era as I entered into that, is console gaming got spectacular, got just insane. Graphics and everything was phenomenal for me. It was such a powerful experience. And so I started to play PlayStation and get into the console game, right? I'm sure PC was better, and some would argue they were, but I never cared about PC, and as time goes on, I'm realizing the convenience that's there is not enough. It's not. And the only convenience that exists with that is that the power is all you get. I'm just not into it as much as I was before. But as I was growing up in my early to mid 20s, PlayStation 4 was powerful. It was exciting. I could play these games that looked great on my big TV. It was so great and spectacular. In my late teens, I was playing stuff on the PlayStation 3. I skipped the Wii and the Wii U because they didn't release games that spoke to me. I was more of a Ratchet and Clank kind of guy, not as much of a whatever they were releasing on those systems. At the time, I had fallen out of love with some of those franchises, which I am very saddened by because a lot of that was due to the environment and the people that played video games with me. And now I'm going back and wishing I would have experienced those games on original hardware, but whatever. Anyway, I digress. I look at that, and still in my early adulthood, all I had was one handheld 3DS, one dedicated console, PlayStation 4. That's it. Only in this YouTube thing have I started to have all of them. All of them. I have played less video games in the past 2.5 years. Okay, listen to me. In the past 2.5 years of me doing YouTube than I have in the past 3 months. Do you want to know why? I'll tell you. In the past 2.5 years, I was so hell-bent on experiencing all of it. I wanted PlayStation. I wanted Nintendo. I wanted Xbox. I wanted Steam Deck. I wanted emulation. I wanted every single thing under the sun. I wanted to be able to talk about the different games everywhere and every which way till Tuesday. I thought that now that I had the ability to play all games everywhere all the time, that I would. It ruined it. And now I am sitting here in this digital age, this disgusting digital age, if I'm being honest with you, and I'm going, how can I focus? How can I enjoy this again? And I look at my daughter, who has one game in one option. I think of my childhood when I had one game in one option, and I go, forget it. I am getting rid of the PlayStation. My Steam Deck exists because I feel like if I got rid of it, it would be sacrilegious at this point. But if I'm being honest with you, I am not buying games for it at the moment. And it's not because there's anything wrong with it, it's because there's something wrong with me. I've lost focus. And so I decided to just use my Nintendo Switch and play Nintendo games. That's it. Maybe some third party, but first party. And for the games that I don't have access to, older titles that I just want to experience again, I have emulation. That's it. That's it. And though the Steam Deck can do emulation better, I don't gravitate towards it because of the size. Right now. I don't think there's anything wrong with the Steam Deck, and I still like having one. It is not on the chopping block at all. But if I'm being honest with you, I look back and I see a gamer who was focused on the experience that he had. And I didn't grow up playing Halo because I didn't have an Xbox. And when people said that Halo was the best game ever, I have so many memories playing Halo. I got jealous, so I went and bought a Xbox to play it. I don't have any memories playing Halo. I have no nostalgia tied to that franchise. And the game itself, in 2024, Halo 1, Halo 2, feels repetitive. It feels like the game was made in the 2000s. It feels like the story is good and the gameplay's fine. But for me, I don't like first-person shooters. They're not exciting to me. And so I don't really enjoy playing it. I have no emotional attachment to that franchise. I'm not that good at it, so it doesn't matter to me, and I certainly didn't play it growing up. And you know what happened when I heard my friends were all playing Halo? I went, cool, I'll come over and play my 3DS. And I did. I didn't participate in Halo LAN parties. I didn't care to. I just played my 3DS or my DS at the time, or maybe it was even the Game Boy Advance. I just would go to my friend's house and play my Nintendo handheld. Because it was enough for me. It's all I wanted to play. It's all I cared to play. And saying I can't because I don't have this was okay at some point. Just because you can doesn't mean you have to. And just because you have the ability to doesn't mean you will enjoy it. I am learning. And I have spent a ton of money on my gaming hobby in the thought that because I couldn't, I was missing out. And in reality, it wasn't that I was missing out because I couldn't. It's that I was actually benefiting from not being able to. So, I decided earlier in May to spend more time playing my Nintendo Switch. I've completed 4 games now on my Nintendo Switch. Some of them emulated, some of them not. I have loved every minute of it. I finished the last required game for me on my PlayStation. It was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Great game. I really have no intention on going back. I love Final Fantasy 16 as a game, but I have no intention on playing the expansion because I don't really care to go back to that as well. I have learned through my 3.5, almost 4-year-old to be content with what I have. The Nintendo Switch is an underpowered, old, end of its life cycle device that has games that are extremely similar and some would say derivative from ones that were released a decade ago. And for me, I can honestly say it's perfection. It's incredible. And at the end of my day, once I have done everything I'm supposed to do in my day, and I have moments to myself, 20, maybe half an hour, I get so much joy and so much excitement and gaming fulfillment from replaying a game like Super Mario Land that is absurd and very challenging, but a game I played when I was so young with my father on my Nintendo Switch. than I ever got playing something like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or even Crisis Core. 2 games that I loved the experience. I want to be able to say, I can't get that game, I don't have the hardware. Because what it allows me to do is focus on what I do have and turn inward versus always looking outward. What can I do? No. What am I able to do? Not what could I do? It's good to have options, but I think right now, for me, I only want one. And so that's where I'm at. I don't know if that means anything to you guys today, and if it does, let me know in the comments below. I'm excited to play my Nintendo Switch more and more and more, and I'd love to share that with you guys. I'm playing Nintendo Switch games over on twitch.tv/jdxcoffee. This week will be a little weird because my parents are in from out of town. I'm spending as much time as I can with them and my family, so I may not be streaming exactly, but usual stream days are Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, anytime from 7 p.m. till we finish over on twitch.tv/jdxcoffee. All right, guys, I'm going to edit this up, and I'll see you guys in the next cup. As always, happy gaming.